What's up? This is DJ Spin So Nice, and welcome to Record School. Let me just remind you, Record School is all about using records, the vinyl from my collection, to go deep and understand what's happening in the world from my point of view, and to make connections, because these records are textbooks. These records are textbooks. That's how I feel, and so I wanted to share with you. So, the topic for today is actually Afrofuturism. The topic for today is Afrofuturism. For me, that's a term that I always felt was pretty cool, but I didn't always fully understand it. What is Afrofuturism? Afrofuturism is just literature, film, storytelling, where African people are projected into a future where they control science fiction, technology, and space travel, all that kind of stuff. So it's basically a link between it's our stories where we look at how the future, science fiction, technology might be if we were the ones telling the stories and creating the worlds. It's very cool stuff. And I figure let's talk about it because we all know that at the end of African Heritage Month, the discovery, the celebration of who we are has to continue, and it has to propel us into thinking about our future, where we are in the future, and what it's going to mean to us, what it's going to look like. So, a couple examples of what Afrofuturism is here's one for you: the Black Panther comic. This is the Ta-Nehisi. Sorry, this is the Ta-Nehisi Coates edition. This is the Ta-Nehisi Coates edition right here. Boom, boom, boom. And I got my guy T'Challa right here, Black Panther. Welcome. He's holding me down. We got little sis Shuri, the wisest scientist in Wakanda, holding me down. I guess Shuri's going to be the new star of the film, and a classic icon of Black Afrofuturism. Our brother Lando Calrissian is holding me down as well. These are our guests in the house. This is the what's his name? Donald Glover edition. This is the new Han Solo. But if you think about Han Solo from Star Wars, he's probably one of the first icons of Afrofuturism. Him probably, and Uhura, Lieutenant Uhura from Star Trek. So let's just start at the beginning, and then we'll get into the records. I wanted to root the talk today in scholarship. You know what I mean? And also the idea of when we look forward, there's always an opportunity to look backwards as well, to get a perspective on where these ideas came from. So looking back, this is one of my prized possessions. This is a book called Blacks in Science, written by the legendary Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. This is from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. I learned about Ivan Van Sertima from Nas, not from, school or university. There's a song called We Are Not Alone, and Nas has a lyric. He says, I used to worship a certain Queens police murderer until I read a book by Ivan Van Sertima. His words made me feel more worthier. Now I'm the hood interpreter. So I was like, what? Anyway, that's how I learned about Ivan Van Sertima. Let's look back, okay? So Afrofuturism is the idea of Africans, blacks, in science fiction in the future. However, we also are some of the first people, I'll claim the very first people to understand space travel. Not space travel, understand space in terms of mapping the stars. I'm speaking about what Van Sertima documents here, and many others, obviously many other historians, the Dogon people of Mali, right? We think of Mali, we think Mali's famous for Mansa Musa and also Timbuktu, but there's more. So the Dogon people, it was discovered that they had been mapping the stars and understanding how the stars worked. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Egyptians and the people from that part of Kemet were first, but Van Sertima mentions it here. And I just thought it's pretty cool to make sure we understand that our thinking and consciousness of space started way back when. It's not a new thing. It's not a radical thing. Sometimes you got to make sure you understand where you came from to understand where you are going, T'Challa and Shuri. So I'm actually going to read a little summary here. It says the complete knowledge of the Dogon of Mali about the Sirius star system, Sirius, is sending shockwaves around the scientific world. These West African people have not only plotted the orbits of stars circling Sirius, but have revealed the extraordinary nature of one of its companions, Sirius B, which they claim to be one of the densest and tiniest of stars in our galaxy. What is most astonishing about their revelations is that Sirius B is invisible to the unaided eye. Eurocentric scientists have attributed this knowledge to the presence of spacemen, Robert Temples, Jesuit priests, Kenneth Breacher, and European travelers, Carl Sagan, among these Africans, who, according to Breacher, have no business knowing this. Hunter Adams III of the Argonne National Laboratory exposes the superficiality and the racist arrogance of these claims. He points to the 700-year-old antiquity of Sirius traditions among the Dogon, aspects of which are shared by other black people. Above all, he emphasizes the need for a revolution in scientific paradigms, a movement towards that synthesis of the intuitive and empirical mode which characterized early African science, making these discoveries possible. That's the summary of the chapter on the Dogon people of Mali by Blacks in Science, Ancient and Modern, compiled by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. So you should pick up his work, check him out online. You will be so inspired. And so this is kind of the background of Afrofuturism. Let's get to the music. There's a lot that I had prepared for this video. I don't want to talk too much. So a little bit more history, techno music, technology. Let's not forget that techno music was invented by Juan Atkinson, Derek May, and a lot of pioneers from Detroit, Michigan. Okay, all the EDM that now permeates the airwaves, it comes from Detroit. And then if you want to think about house music, that comes from Chicago, pioneered by the one and only Godfather, Frankie Knuckles. And so that's where the foundation came from, right? So where are we going? Let's talk about a couple records that make some connections. I'm going to pull out Outkast for, actually, not yet. Let's talk about early rap. So basically what we're talking about is how Afrofuturism kind of started back in the 60s and 70s. These are little pieces of it. And now, if you think about Black Panther, it's full blown. If you think about Octavia Butler and all the different really cool black science writers, artists like Janelle Monáe, Afrofuturism is a full-blown genre that is inspiring a lot of creators. But it actually has roots in the past. So this is the 80s. This is Nucleus. Nucleus is one of those boogie funk groups that use the computer voice. Probably the first rap song I ever heard on the radio in my life. One of the first was a song called Jam on It, Jam on It, Jam on It. And it had a little computer voice in it. This came out the same time as the Run DMC, so I'm talking about 1985, that kind of thing. This is this album doesn't have Jam on It featured on it, but this album is called Space is the Place. What's my favorite song on this album? I think Let's Jam, or no, Cyborg Dance is my favorite song. So this is, I mean, in the 80s, a lot of people were thinking about space and cyborgs. My wife said I should make sure I talk about how the music sounds. So Cyborg Dance, it has a high-pitched robot on the chorus going Cyborg Dance, and then it has kind of like a mid-tempo breakdance beat with like obviously 808 drums, and there's some spacey reverb sounds going through it. Once you Google it, YouTube it, you will enjoy. But Nucleus is one of the first groups that we can say was dibbling and dabbling in what is now known as Afrofuturism. Thank you, Nucleus. That's a little wink. That's a little close up there. You see the record on my right here. This is the one and only Outkast. We're gonna get to that in a moment, but let's not ignore our forefathers. Okay, another record I was digging through that has some aesthetic, which can be connected to Afrofuturism, is the mighty Earth, Wind, and Fire. Everybody probably has this album here if you have a respectable record collection. This is the Earth, Wind, and Fire album. Which album is this though? Let me not even front. This one is called All in All. This is the one, obviously, with the pyramids, but the album's called All in All. This has Serpentine Fire on it, I believe. The actual vinyl is somewhere else, or maybe I have two copies. Let me not get too. Hold on. Yeah, whoo. Has Fantasy on it and has Serpentine Fire on it, which I love. And has Love's Holiday on it. This is the album that has Love's Holiday on it, which is a really beautiful ballad. Steve Harvey made Love's Holiday famous in the Kings of Comedy video when he plays the whole song for the whole crowd. The whole crowd goes crazy, and the song says, "Do you mind if I touch, if I held you tight in the morning light?" So the song is a very traditional soul record for the lovers. But if you take a look at the album itself, how provocative. The front bit is, I'm going to move these gentlemen over to the side so you can see. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me, sure. I got it. We got to see these records. There you go. Excuse me. Got my Maasai over here. Another elder there. You open it up. Look at that. So the pyramids are on the one side. The past that we pay homage to. Looking to the future, they kind of morph into a technological structure with a rocket ship. Earth, Wind, and Fire was doing that. That's pretty much Afrofuturism in a nutshell. Right? We have the technology that we are famous for, the Dogon people of Mali, the Kemetic science from Ethiopia and Nubia, and then fast forwarding into more of that tradition of reaching to the stars in our future, right? So it's not all about what the songs sound like. So we got two kinds of approaches to Afrofuturism. We have the images, the aesthetic, the thought that is demonstrated in what we are kind of presenting to the world about ourselves. And then we have the actual use of technology to make a futuristic sound. There's, in my opinion, in my humble understanding of Afrofuturism, there's kind of two approaches. There's how we use technology to sound futuristic, and then how we kind of create these images of ourselves.